I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the regular meeting of Plymouth Council, June 10th, 2024. And our first order of business is a text amendment ordinance, a public hearing by Priet. We are missing one of our council members. I've not been able to get in touch with her. Would you like to proceed with one council member absent?
Yes.
All right. And you're counsel for Priet, correct? Counsel for Priet has agreed. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So,
We need a motion to open the hearing.
okay. I make a motion to open this hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Whitney. All those in favor, Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
Ms. Vissio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor.
Thank you. This is a text amendment hearing to consider an ordinance of Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, pursuant to Article 6 of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, amending the Plymouth Township Code Appendix B zoning ordinance to amend Article 11, Section 1100 of the zoning ordinance to permit new high-rise and mid-rise apartment buildings in the shopping center district by conditional use, subject to the specific development requirements. The applicant is Priet Realty LLC, and they are represented this evening by Mark Kaplan Esquire. And before we turn this over to Mr. Kaplan and representatives from Priet to briefly present on the ordinance and on the proposed project, there are exhibits that we would like to mark. T1 is an affidavit of publication indicating that this hearing has been advertised consistent with the municipality's planning code. T2 is a letter from the Montgomery County Planning Commission to Joel Rowe, zoning officer, regarding the project. T3 is a certification from Mr. Rowe that the property was posted on May 14th, 2024. T4 is a copy of the ordinance. T5 is a copy of the application that was submitted by Mr. Kaplan. So, Mr. Kaplan, I know you have some representatives from Priet tonight and your architect with you. If you'd like to make a brief presentation, we would ask that you come up a little closer so council can hear you.
I have Chris Brzezinski from Priet, and I have Seth Shapiro from Barton. They've got the whole story. It's not that long. So Chris is going to make an opening, and then Seth will explain the plan.
Thank you, Council. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
No. But if you can identify yourself for the record.
Sure. Chris Brzezinski with Priet, the owner of the mall and the property we're discussing today.
And Mr. Brzezinski, we have kind of a strange setup here with the audience behind you, so if you could try to keep your voice up so everyone can hear you, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. Would it be easier if I stood, or am I okay here?
However you think you can project best.
All right. Let me know back there. And this will be brief. And then I'll turn it over to Seth to do some of the more details as it relates to the plans. So we have been working consistently for a little over a year now, actually, with Keystone, the owner of the office building, as well as the township. We had some preliminary discussions last summer, followed by a town hall meeting in October, which I know several of the people here tonight were at in this very room. And this is really the next step in that process. So this text amendment would allow us to move forward to a conditional use application, which we have begun putting together and are eager to submit and start that process. Again, I'll let Seth walk through a couple boards, which we also handed out to you in paper copy, as far as how this property and this project relates to the greater project, as well as some traffic improvements that are part of it, that again were discussed previously, but we want to make sure that they're top of mind for everybody. So with that, I'm happy to turn it over to Seth. Let Seth go through the couple boards, and then any questions, obviously, we're happy to address.
Thanks. And Mr. Shapiro, if you're going to be referencing anything on those boards, exactly. You can stand over there if it's easier.
And I'll just
Yeah, and
for-
project.
that's fine.
Yep.
Seth Shapiro, Principal Director of Planning and Urban Design
Okay.
for Barton Partners. Shapiro is the Philadelphia pronunciation.
Does it every time.
My parents are from New York. So. This is the plan that we're talking about today. This is a plan of the entire mall property, and what we did is we color-coded it for use. If we had done this plan 5 years ago, we would have the vacant building here, and then everything else would be pink. And pink is a retail use. What we're proposing is adding that mix of uses to the property, with the Keystone building here being in yellow. Yellow is the sort of international planning color for residential. And then over here in the IKEA office building parcel, a residential building as well. The building that is before you today is laid out for 275 units and a structured deck for 1.5 parking spaces per unit, which is consistent with the code. But this is just sort of the use diagram. What this one shows is a series of improvements to the property, some of which have been baked and some of which still need some work. But the most important thing here is a series of sort of traffic improvements, assisting circulation around the mall. You know, the mall is sort of typical of something with a ring road, but having this ring road function a little bit more efficiently is the goal here. So we have a series of improvements, starting with the sort of the right-in off of 422, changing the entry sequence itself, the main entry, which does have some backups now, but we have a solution for that. We're still working on whether the road that goes between the proposed building and the Whole Foods, if that can go straight through, just in terms of efficiency there. And then enhancing the entire ring road here to allow sort of traffic to move out this way. Obviously, you know, the most efficient way to move traffic is to have multiple points of entry, multiple convenient points of entry. So that's what this shows. This also starts to show the idea of sort of pedestrian linkages around the whole property. These are things that are still being worked through, but the idea of adding a residential use to the property, that's one thing. But if you can get people who live in this community, who live in the Keystone Tower, to walk to the Whole Foods, have it be a comfortable walk, we can take cars off the roads. So that's the idea behind what you see here. Again, still working through the details on that, but this is sort of the beginnings of that thinking.
That's really the overview. Most of these items have been talked about many times. So I guess that's our presentation. We can answer any questions that you would like us to answer, but most of it, if the ordinance goes through, we've got 2 steps afterwards. We've got conditional use and land development. And Keystone is going to go ahead, and we've been working with Keystone for a year. Once this ordinance is passed, we will huddle with Keystone, because there are a lot of additional improvements that Keystone wants to do that are on our property that we think will be beneficial to both developments, and will make both of them more successful. So Mike, just tell me what you would like us to address, and we will do so.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Do any members of council have any questions for Mr. Mrzinski, Mr. Shapiro, or Mr. Kaplan?
Go ahead. I do have a question. It may be premature, but you brought it up, Mr. Shapiro. You talked about a road going straight through next to the Whole Foods. Is this a road that would go down to the, cut through the parking lot of the movie theater?
It is. It may not be topographically possible, and we may have a traffic engineer tell us that there's a safety issue there. I just like direct connections. I feel like traffic flows better. We have a stop sign there, create a four-way intersection. But again, it's something that would need to be vetted.
Yeah, I was thinking of safety, especially when they're showing the children movies.
Yep.
Kids can get pretty excited.
They can. I mean, it would have to be a four-way stop. I mean, there's other things you could do to sort of traffic calm there, raise the intersection. But it also, again, topographically, it may actually not be feasible.
It is a drop off. That was my question.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. So the pedestrian linkages, it's still very much a part of the plan that the whole site becomes more walkable. That also includes not just walkability, but I know the last time we spoke, there were some like landscaping enhancements for some greenery. Is that all still part of the plan?
Correct, yes. All of that is still part of the plan and on the table. And as Mr. Kaplan mentioned, through conditional use, all that would be further detailed in terms of, but definitely part of the plan.
And you had mentioned also there might be some other property enhancements, like if this goes through, there'd be conversations with Keystone about other potential property enhancements. Can you share what those might be?
Well, what I was thinking about is that some of Keystone's plans shows walkways reconfigured, shows a doggy park, shows, I think, a swimming pool. That's on our property, and we're very much interested in working with Keystone on that.
Thank you.
If it could be noted for the record that Councilwoman Leonard has arrived, and Mr. Kaplan, I'm assuming you have no issue with Councilwoman Leonard voting on this text amendment this evening.
You assume correctly.
Okay.
We've all had the text amendment for a while now, so.
No, I know.
Is it helpful to show anything again or mention anything?
Only if Councilwoman Leonard would ask for something to be repeated, or if there's something, or if you have any questions.
I didn't have any specific questions, no.
Okay. No further questions from council?
None from me, thank you.
Are there any members of the public here this evening who would like to make public comment? And if you do, could you please come forward and state your name and whether or not you are a Plymouth resident?
Yes. Hello, my name is Paul Tornata. I'm a resident of Plymouth Township for the last 22 years. I've worked my whole professional life in Plymouth Township in real estate, licensed agent since age 18, current licensed attorney as well, and we specialize in land development and property management. I've been asked to sit on a few traffic commission meetings, as well as the Long Range Planning Commission at the request of the township. And I want to speak in favor of the project. And, you know, in retail, co-tenancy is what makes a retail project successful. And the apartment, the residential component, is a critical element to this co-tenancy. That's all.
So co-tenancy is mixing residential, retail, sort of mixed use, is that?
Yes, yes.
It's just a term that I'm not
Yes.
familiar with, thank you.
Yes, it is.
Is there any other member of the public who's here this evening who would like to make public comment? Please come forward, state your name, and whether or not you are a Plymouth resident.
I'm Bill Sabey.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Bill Sabey,
Would you spell your last name?
S-A-B-E-Y.
Thank you.
Plymouth Township resident since 2000. Been on the EAB, or was on the EAB for 13 years. One of the things that the Plymouth Township Comprehensive Plan that was updated in 2019 includes a section on bikeability and trails. And one of the trail plans was to go on the outside circumference of the mall. So I would ask that any development plan include the ability for a walking trail around the outside of the mall.
Mr. Sabia, I just had a question about your comment. Are you envisioning something that would be sort of a dedicated walking and bike trail that would sort of be separate from, at least striped, separate from vehicular traffic?
Yes, I believe the 2019 plan, there's an appendix, or no, there's a section in the middle of the document called Bikeability and Walkability. We have a map that shows where the tentative trail would possibly go on the circumference of the mall. And I believe there's enough space in the current macadam at the edges of that outside ring that it could be a painted trail. It would of course have to be checked for safety, but I believe there's enough access that it could be painted on the outside edge of the macadam.
Thanks for your comment.
Sure.
Mike, can we ask other questions?
You certainly can.
So, Mr. Shapiro, can you respond to Mr. Savi's comment? Is that something that is so, I mean, does that look like anything? I mean, in terms of the walkability and the pedestrian linkages, is that close to what you had envisioned? Is it?
This is the first time I've actually heard of a circumference trail. It's certainly something we can look at as we continue to develop this.
It is, let me just add, I mean, the concept is consistent with what we're trying to do.
Okay.
But again, as Seth said, it's not specifically on the plan, but the concept is certainly consistent, and we're happy to.
It is.
explore it through
That's
the
what I was
process.
curious about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for Mr. Sabi's benefit and anyone else who may be listening, as Mr. Kaplan indicated, this is step one of a three-step process. The second step will be the conditional use hearing, and if that's approved, then there'll be land development. A great many of these matters will be more explored in greater detail during the conditional use stage and certainly during the land development stage. Is there any other member of the public who would like to make public comment? Seeing no hands, are there any further questions from any members of council, or does any member of council wish to make any comments on the application?
Well, I just have one comment that I think all of us know that the success of the mall is essential to Plymouth Township. We do not want to see an unused building, and I know that a lot of efforts have been made to bring in more tenants, and certainly having residents who could shop and walk over would help the vitality of the mall. And I think that economically, Plymouth needs the mall to succeed. That's my only comment.
So a motion to approve the text amendment or to deny the text amendment would be in order if there are no further comments or questions from members of council.
I make a motion that we approve the text amendment as presented to us. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Nelson. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vicio?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor.
Thank you very much.
Yes, now we need a motion to close the hearing.
All right,
Thank you.
someone want to make a motion to close the
I'll
hearing?
move to close the hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Whitney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Vicio. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vicio?
In favor.
Ms.
Are we going
Leonard?
right into
In
the meeting?
favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the
Yeah,
chair votes
yeah.
in favor.
Yeah, meeting wait till 7, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right, now we all get to hang around.
All right, we'll have a brief recess because the regular meeting was advertised to begin at 7 o'clock.
That's right.
And so we wanted to keep it open and make sure that we begin at 7. Until we do the pledge. Okay, we will resume the regular meeting at 6 o'clock. We had a hearing on a text amendment ordinance. And we will resume now. We already did the Pledge of Allegiance. So first order of business will be a 30 years of service resolution recognizing Richard Cabo Jr. Resolution, whereas Richard Cabo Jr. has served the Plymouth Township Buildings and Grounds Department faithfully since June 15, 1994, and has therefore completed 30 years of service. And whereas Plymouth Township Council desires to formally recognize the diligent and valuable service rendered by Richard Cabo Jr. and publicly express its appreciation. Now therefore be it resolved that Richard Cabo Jr. is congratulated for completion of 30 years of service with the Plymouth Township Buildings and Grounds Department, and be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the official minutes of Plymouth Township, and that a copy of this resolution be publicly tendered to Richard Cabo Jr., adopted this 10th day of June 2024 by Plymouth Township Council. I make a notion that we adopt this resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by everybody? Very popular, Rick. Second by Ms. Vizio. We'll give it to you. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Congratulations. Great job. Thank you so much.
The hardest worker in Plymouth Township.
Oh, yes.
No doubt.
Come on, you picture there.
Chris Lacian would have something to say about that.
Yeah, sorry. There's the man. Right there.
Come on, you're in the middle.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, right in the middle.
You ever do any work with Roman Pronsick over with him?
I'm good, yeah.
Buildings all about.
When I was with Chambers Associates, we were his go-to engineer to
Thank you.
get plans together. Yeah.
He retired last year.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's beautiful going to work for him. I turned to Craig, my colleague, and said, "They don't do that for us."
It's going back to work?
Probably somebody has a game down there.
All right. I have an announcement that an executive session was held following our workshop on June 3rd, 2024. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the workshop meeting of May 6th, 2024, and the regular meeting of May 13th?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Whitney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. We'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Approval of the departmental reports and bills. May I have a motion to approve those, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Whitney, second by Ms. Vizio. We'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Next order of business, the RCO Amendment Draft Ordinance, first consideration by our solicitor, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mrs. Bramlett. This before you this evening is an ordinance amending the Code of Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, at Chapter 2, Administration, at Section 2-25A, Responsible Contractors, to add subsection B for exclusion. And the responsible contractor ordinance would be amended to include the following exclusion. The township may award a contract without application of the terms of this section if all of the following apply. A, the work that is the subject of the contract is being completed by a public-private partnership, and B, the funding for the work is supplied by both public and private sources, and C, the property is owned by the township but subject to a long-term lease to a not-for-profit corporation. This amendment, proposed amendment, is to enable the Harmonville Fire Company to build their new building on property that is owned by the township without being subject to the responsible contractor ordinance, because a significant amount of the money is coming from private sources.
Do we take questions?
Anything you want to ask, and then we just...
Any
No vote.
questions or comments by members of council?
Should we advertise?
Yeah.
Any questions or comments from the public? All right, this is only a first consideration, so we will not vote
But-
this time.
We would need a motion to authorize advertisement,
Oh,
If
okay.
in favor.
if in favor.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to advertise the first consideration of the RCO amendment draft ordinance?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Vicio, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any questions or comments from council? From the audience? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote on the motion to advertise. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vicio?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Okay, we have another first consideration, single-use plastic reduction ordinance, again by our solicitor, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Ms. Bramlett. Before council this evening for first consideration is an ordinance of Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, creating a single-use plastic reduction ordinance. This would be an amendment to Chapter 17 and providing a new Chapter 17, which would be single-use plastics. The ordinance itself is approximately 7 pages long. It was the subject of a town hall within the last week or so before council, so I will not go through and read it word for word, but we're prepared to answer any questions that council may have. And again, if council is so inclined, it would be appropriate to have a motion to authorize advertisement.
All right, do I have a motion to authorize advertisement of the single-use plastic reduction ordinance?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Whitney, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any questions or comments by members of council? Questions or comments from members of the audience?
I have a question, but no,
Oh.
the audience can.
Okay. And anybody else have any questions or comments?
I just wanted to clarify, this draft ordinance has, and I was at the town hall, and I don't know that I heard with any definite answer of the charge for the bags. So this ordinance has the 15 cents, not less than 15 cents. It was 10 and 15 were being tossed about. And I just wanted to know, because once we advertise that, so it's time to make, if this is the decision or some other number. Just want to clarify.
All right.
And for council's information, if council determines to advertise it at 15 cents and then chooses to reduce it to 10 or 5, we don't believe that requires re-advertising. If you intend to increase it or eliminate it in its entirety, then we believe that would require re-advertising, because that would be a substantial amendment to the ordinance that was advertised. But we believe that reducing it down to 10 or 5 or some other number would not require re-advertising.
All right, on that clarification, are there any, anyone on council wish to make any comments?
Yeah, just to say that at the town hall, I believe the conversation about the amount, I don't think it came up as much as it was talked about that this was going to somehow give the supermarkets a bunch of money. I don't think it came up as like whether or not it should be 10 to 15 cents. But I do remember from our presentations from the EAB and others that the 15 cents versus 10 cents discussion, they've done studies apparently showing that 15 cents is better at getting people to use reusables rather than paper bags at the point of sale. So.
Any comments from the public on the point of clarification, 10 or 15 cents? All right, if you can just state your name for the record and whether or not you live in Plymouth.
Yes, Bill Saby, Plymouth Township since 2000. Was a member of the AV for 13 years till December, so I was aware of what was our discussions about this issue. We feel that 15 cents is the better choice, and Penn Environment recommends that also, our consultant, Farron Savage, because it is a higher deterrent. It helps people change their behavior to start using reusable bags and bringing them. So the higher the charge, the better the deterrent and the better the behavior change and the less pollution reduction and all that. So it helps the retail establishments offset their cost of purchasing paper bags or alternative, for that use. And we don't see it as being an inordinate charge. There are other townships, including White Marsh, that charge 15 cents. And I know that we had put that in our presentation about the other townships that charge 15 cents. So we would recommend 15 cents to start.
Yeah, I think of some of the townships charge 10, some charge 15, is that correct?
Right, so we recommend 15.
Can I make a comment?
Of course.
Well, Aaron brought up the grocery stores making money off of the fee. Isn't this also, from what I understand, it was presented as not to put a burden, the required fee was not to burden the small businesses so that everyone was charging the fee? And they didn't, then customers wouldn't decide to go to the big box store that isn't charging a fee because they can afford to do that? Is that correct?
That's my recollection too, that we do not want small businesses to suffer, that we want, by making the fee mandatory for all businesses to charge, then someone like Whole Foods, who has been giving away their brown paper bags, won't be able to continue to do so to the detriment of smaller food stores, produce stands that may have been using plastic.
If I could, just to follow up. So you're right, all retail, everyone, small, large, et cetera, Whole Foods will have to start charging the 15 cents or noting it on the receipt. So it will be a more fair, equitable use across all of Plymouth Township. No one will be able to go somewhere that has a lower cost. So I believe it's the fairest is to make it an even amount, and the higher amount to be the deterrent for behavior change is really what we're trying to apply.
Would anyone else like to offer comment before we vote on authorizing the public advertisement of this proposed ordinance? All right, hearing none, we will take a roll call vote on the, or does anyone on council have strong feelings about reducing it to 10 cents? No? Okay. We will take a roll call vote on the motion to authorize advertising the single-use plastic reduction ordinance. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vicio?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, next, we have the AFSCME agreement. These are our AFSCME union employees, and all I know is that the M stands for municipal. But it is AFSCME. Oh, and E is employees, municipal employees.
Federal, state,
American
county,
State,
municipal,
county,
yeah.
employees.
Ah. Well, we're the M, municipal.
That's right.
All right, that will be presented by Ms. Vicio.
Thank you. So we have at this point an announcement that the AFSCME Public Works crew has approved a tentative agreement, which would be a 4-year contract effective January 1st, 2025. The agreement is currently being codified. At this time, I would make a motion for council to approve the agreement as well. If there are any specific questions about the agreement, we can answer those at this time, and of course, it will be available to council at the time it is codified and finalized.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Vicio to approve the negotiated AFSCME agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any questions or comments about the proposed contract with AFSCME? Council, any members of the public have any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we will take a roll call vote on approving this agreement. Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Next on the agenda, under Police and Public Safety, we have a towing fee schedule amendment resolution. Ms. Leonard.
Whereas Chapter 19, Article 4, Section 1962B of the Plymouth Township Code states, towing fee schedule. The Council of Plymouth Township shall adopt a fee schedule for the removal of vehicles of all types that are damaged, disabled, or snowbound, and providing a safe storage of such vehicles until their disposition from time to time. By resolution, towing fee schedule. The towing fee schedule may be reviewed annually by the township and may be changed at its discretion. And whereas the Plymouth Township Council desires to amend the existing towing fee schedule, it is hereby resolved that the township fee schedule shall be amended in accordance with the towing fee schedule attached hereto and incorporated by reference. Duly presented and adopted by Plymouth Township at a public meeting held the 10th day of June 2024. I make a motion to adopt this resolution.
All right, motion from Ms. Leonard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Whitney. Any questions or comments by council? I have one comment that our police chief brought up at our workshop about this amendment, and that is that at the urging of our police department, citizens who are victims of a crime and have their vehicle towed, because for that reason will not be paying the towing fee. Will only pay a fee of $50, regardless of the size of the vehicle, and they will not pay storage fees for the first 48 hours. So that is something that he has suggested to us and that we plan to adopt. Any questions or comments from the audience on updating? Yes, Miss, please come forward and state your name.
It's just a really quick question. Artis Lukens. You're
Plymouth
saying
resident,
it's a
correct?
victim. If the victim only has to pay $50?
Correct, a victim of a crime. So, for example, if you're the victim of a crime and your vehicle has to be towed from the scene of that crime, you're not going to be penalized by having to pay for storage.
$50 seems kind of like a...
Pardon?
You have to pay 50, not 200.
Right.
You're getting a
Right,
70
200 is what you would pay
Otherwise.
if your vehicle were, the various things, damaged, disabled, or snowbound on a public roadway, and you had to be towed, you would be paying $200. Victim of a crime, because we do have to pay the towing company, will only have to pay $50, and they will not have to pay for storing their vehicle for the first 48 hours. All right, any other comments or questions from the public? All right, hearing none, we will take a roll call vote. Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Okay, next under Public Works, we have Sussex Square Apartments Memorandum of Understanding. Ms. Vizio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a memorandum of understanding between Harbor Towers West, doing business as Sussex Square Apartments, and Plymouth Township. This is regarding the property located at 513 Plymouth Road. I will provide the highlights of this memorandum of understanding. So there are repairs needed to an approximate 880 linear foot retaining wall within the creek of the eastern border of this property. In order to complete the repairs to the retaining wall, the Sussex engineers have recommended a soil nail wall rehabilitation, which was shown on a plan. There's currently an existing sanitary sewer line that's in close proximity to where this soil nail work will take place. as well as some ongoing sanitary sewer improvements in the township, which will eventually be underway. So at this point, this memorandum of understanding specifies that Sussex will be responsible for the work and cost of the new sewer line in the parking area and driveway of the property up to Plymouth Road. Any work within Plymouth Road, including the connection to the newer sewer line on the property, will be the responsibility of the township at its cost. The township has authorized Sussex and its contractors to perform this soil nail work on the property prior to the township's connection to the newer sewer line at Plymouth Road. There's protections in here if there's any inadvertent drilling through the existing sewer line, where Sussex contractors would be permitted to repair that damage. And if they're unable to repair the damage, it would be at their own cost, but other repairs would be made. And at this time, I would move that we adopt this memorandum of understanding between Sussex Apartments and the township.
Motion to adopt the memorandum of understanding by Ms. Vizio. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any questions or comments on this from council? From the audience? All right, hearing none, we will take a roll call vote. Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Anything from engineering tonight,
Nothing
Mr.
tonight.
Minai? Thank you.
Thank you.
Under subdivision and land development, 502 West Germantown Pike by Ms. Vizio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a letter from Jenna Kassman, representing Plymouth Meeting KPG 3 LLC regarding the property at 502 West Germantown Pike. At this time, KPG agrees to extend the deadline by when the township has to render a decision on the pending subdivision/land development application for their project. The extension would be through July 8th, 2024, and I would make a motion that we accept this extension.
Motion by Ms. Vizio. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any comments or questions from council, from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Next by Mr. Nelson,
Thank you.
Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah, thank you,
Outback
Chair.
Steakhouse.
I have an email from a John Murphy, who's representative for the Outback Steakhouse rebuild on 322 Ridge Pike, and they are looking for an extension of their deadline till July 31st, 2024, and I would like to move to approve that extension.
Okay, motion by Mr. Nelson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Vizio. Any comments or questions by council or from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, next, under subdivision and land development by our solicitor, Mr. Clark, Ridge Pike Car Wash.
Thank you, Ms. Bramlett. Before council this evening is a resolution. Be it resolved that Plymouth Township Council does hereby approve the preliminary final land development plan titled 416 Ridge Pike Car Wash, Plymouth Township, prepared for 416 Ridge Property, Inc., hereinafter called the owner-developer, prepared by Bowler Engineers, dated June 9, 2023, last revised March 6, 2024, consisting of sheets numbers 1 through 14, proposing the renovation and expansion of an existing car wash site into a new car wash having an address of 416 Ridge Pike and having a parcel number of 49-00-10057-00-1. Land Development Application Number 24-2 in accordance with said plans under and subject to the following conditions. 1, that the owner-developer shall execute a public improvement agreement and memorandum of public improvement agreement as required by the subdivision and land development ordinance and pay all applicable fees and assessments, including but not limited to the following. A, an impact fee for transportation capital improvements under ordinance number 1426 of 2004, as amended, to be determined by Carroll Engineering Corporation. B, a sewer connection fee in accordance with the connection fee and EDU schedule in effect at the time of application for connection and payment. C, a recreation fee in the amount of $746.25 based on 662 square feet of new building. 2, that the owner-developer shall prepare revised plans to comply with the requirements, comments as set forth in the May 31st, 2024 report of Carroll Engineering Corporation, the township engineer, attached to this resolution to the satisfaction and approval of said traffic engineer. 3, that the owner-developer shall prepare revised plans to comply with the requirements, comments as set forth in the May 30th, 2024 report of Carroll Engineering Corporation, the township sanitary sewer engineer, attached to this resolution to the satisfaction and approval of said sanitary sewer engineer. 4, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to comply with the requirements, comments set forth in the March 12, 2024 report of Woodrow and Associates, the township engineer, attached to this resolution, except to the extent that waivers are granted herein to the satisfaction and approval of the said township engineer. 5, that the owner-developer shall obtain all required permits and approvals from the Sewer Authority, a DEP sewage facility planning module waiver, the water company with jurisdiction over the property, and a highway occupancy permit from Plymouth Township and a highway occupancy permit from Montgomery County if needed. 6, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to comply with the requirements, comments set forth in the June 5th, 2024 report of the Plymouth Township Planning Agency and the May 14th, 2024 report of the Montgomery County Planning Commission, each attached to this resolution to the satisfaction and approval of the aforesaid Township Zoning Officer. 7, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to list all waivers granted and notes required by this resolution, if needed. 8, the owner-developer shall make revisions to the plan to comply with the fire truck turning radius diagram provided by the fire marshal. 9, prior to the issuance of any permits, all outstanding legal, engineering, and administrative fees applicable to this land development must be paid by the owner-developer. 10, this approval is subject to the fulfillment of all the foregoing conditions in their entirety, and no permit shall be issued, nor shall any development take place on the property unless and until all such conditions are fulfilled, duly presented and adopted by Plymouth Township Council at a public meeting held on the 10th day of June 2024, Plymouth Township, by Karen R. Bramlett, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Is there a motion to approve the land development plan by Ridge Pike Car Wash?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Whitney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any questions or comments from council? Any questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote on approving this. Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Okay. Next, under code enforcement, Mr. Nelson.
We have a resolution before us this evening. It states the following. Resolved by the Council of Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, whereas by virtue of resolution number 1991-53, adopted November 11th, 1991, Plymouth Township declared its intent to follow the procedures for the disposition of records as set forth in the Municipal Records Manual of Pennsylvania, approved December 16th, 2008, and whereas, in accordance with Act 428 of 1968, each individual act of disposition shall be approved by resolution of the governing body of the municipality. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, in accordance with the above-cited Municipal Records Manual, hereby authorizes the disposition of the following public records. Code Enforcement Department, duplicated sewer connection records, 22 cubic feet, adopted this 10th day of June 2024. I would like to move to adopt this resolution.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Vizio. Any comments or questions on records disposition from council? From the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Next, under zoning, an announcement on upcoming zoning hearings. Mr. Whitney?
The Zoning Hearing Board of Plymouth Township will hold a public hearing on Monday, June 17th, 2024, commencing at 7 p.m. in the Greater Plymouth Community Center, 2910 Jolly Road, Plymouth Meeting, PA 19462. The following applications will be heard. Gregory Fusco on an application for a variance from Plymouth Township Zoning Ordinance Number 342 as amended Article 8, Section 802.c.1. The variance requested is as follows: to permit a side yard setback of 3.1 feet where 8 feet is required, and to permit an aggregate side yard of 6.2 feet where 20 feet is required. The property is located at 510 Old Elm Street in a D residential zoning district. Freedom Fence, Greg Carr, on an application for a variance from Plymouth Township Zoning Ordinance Number 342 as amended Article 19, Section 1909. The variance requested is as follows: install a fence in front yard. The property is located at 144 Alexander Drive in a B residential zoning district. David Coyle, on an application for a variance from Plymouth Township Zoning Ordinance Number 342 as amended Article 19, Section 1909.e. The variance requested is as follows: would like to build a 6-foot tall fence 10 feet from property line along Walton Road where 40 feet is required. Fence will start in rear half of house. The property is located at 600 Treaty Road in an A residential zoning district. 1850 Gravers PA Property LLC, on an application for variance from Plymouth Township Zoning Ordinance Number 342 as amended Article 13, Section 1300. The variance requested is as follows: seek a use variance to permit an indoor recreational establishment for pickleball with accessory retail shop. The property is located at 1850 North Gravers Road in Industrial Park zoning district. Any citizen of Plymouth Township or interested party may attend the public hearing and have an opportunity to be heard.
Thank you, Mr. Whitney. Next, we have a resolution for appointing a zoning hearing board alternate. Ms. Vizio.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Whereas Plymouth Township has established a zoning hearing board pursuant to the municipality's planning code 53 PS 10901, and whereas the municipality's planning code at section 903A requires the township appoint members to the board by resolution, and whereas the township desires to appoint Franny Morione to the board, now therefore be it resolved that as of this 10th day of June 2024, Franny Morione is appointed as an alternate member to the Plymouth Township Zoning Hearing Board with a term that shall expire on 12/31/2026. Duly presented and adopted by Plymouth Township Council at a public meeting held on the 10th day of June 2024. And I would motion that we ratify this appointment.
Motion by Ms. Vizio. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any questions or comments from council? From the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, we have an announcement of our upcoming events for the Parks and Recreation Department.
Thank you, Chair. There are some events coming up for the Plymouth Township Parks and Recreation Department. The first is actually this Saturday, June 15th. It's a community yard sale at Montgomery County Community College. The next is June 19th. It's a Wednesday. We'll be having an outdoor movie. It'll be the Super Mario Brothers. The next is June 21st. It's a Friday. It's a summer pool party. After that, we have on June 26th, we have a concert by the Funkin' Soul Nuts. After that, July 3rd, it's a Wednesday, and we have another outdoor movie. It'll be Migration. And then July 10th, it's a Wednesday, we have another concert by the Chris Wolf Band. After that, July 17th is a Wednesday, and we have an outdoor movie. It'll be Barbie. And then on July 19th, it's Friday, we will have the Adventure Night at the Pool, and the theme is Aquarium. And then on July 24th, it's Wednesday, and we have another concert, which will be by the Box of Books. And then after that, July 31st, it's a Wednesday, and we will have another outdoor movie. It'll be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And on August 6th, it's a Tuesday, and it'll be National Night Out with the Plymouth Township Police Department. And then just a reminder to everyone that GPCC's shutdown week will be from August 26th to August 30th. So mark your calendars.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Next, we have an announcement of our citizen board vacancies. Ms. Leonard.
All residents wishing to serve on these citizens boards are asked to submit their resume or a letter stating their interest to the township manager, 700 Belvoir Road, Plymouth Meeting, PA 19462, or via email at kwise@plymouthtownship.org. The following citizen board positions are currently open: Property Maintenance Code Appeals Board, 3 positions open; Historical Architecture Review Board, 1 position open; Human Relations Commission, 1 position open.
Thank you, Ms. Leonard. Next, we have application for appointment to our Civil Service Commission, and we have received an application from Patricia Smith, along with her very impressive resume. I would like to make a motion to appoint Patricia Smith to the Civil Service Commission. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any comments or questions from council? From members of the audience? No? Okay. Take a roll call vote on appointing Ms. Smith to the Civil Service Commission. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. We have full complement on our Civil Service Commission, and it will be busy. We are hiring. Any members of the audience wish to make comments at this time? It's time for audience participation. Sure. Just give us your name and whether you live in Plymouth Township or somewhere else.
Yes, my name is Patricia Smith. I live in Plymouth Township. I came last month, I think, to inquire about like the sidewalk situation near Fulton Street. So I think last time we spoke, there was like a feasibility study being conducted. And I'm just wondering what the progress on that is and whether there's been any movement on that since the last time we spoke.
My understanding is the chief is not here tonight, and I don't know. We need where we stand with approval from, first of all, PennDOT, whether or not they will even allow it, and also any proposed sidewalk that would bridge the 2 sides of Cunnytown, go across private property, so that I don't know where we stand with getting any kind of commitment from, I think Cliff Steels is one of them. Ms. Lucan, do you have something to offer on that?
Yeah, I've been meeting on the 20th with Steel. Hello.
Okay, so resident artist Lukens, who's also been spearheading this effort, will be meeting with Cliff Steele to see if they have any interest in a sidewalk, because of course they have a very busy driveway there too, a rather wide one. So that's June 20th.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah,
I just want to follow up. Hi, Nick Weirman. I'm also a resident next door to Ms. Smith, our newest. So I'm a relatively new resident to Plymouth, but just in the last 3 years, I am the father of 3, an 8-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. The sidewalk and the lack of access to the trail is a big deal. It's not something totally expected walking into the house that we bought a little over a year ago. So all that's just sort of where I stand on what my vested interest is. I guess my question is, I know Ms. Lukens has a meeting on the 20th with the private development. What I don't totally understand is what the process is, because when we're talking about a feasibility study, do we need private buy-in first, and then we conduct a feasibility study, or do we do a feasibility study first to see if it's even engineeringly possible? I'm hoping somebody can walk me through what that process looks like.
I think first of all, we would need PennDOT to have a buy-in to approve it, because it is a state road.
Okay.
And so it's PennDOT property. It's their road to put a sidewalk next to it. Without PennDOT approval, there's no need to invest in engineering studies or that kind of, to go any further, because if PennDOT says no,
Sure.
then they've put the kibosh on it.
So what's this, then where are we at with achieving PennDOT approval?
Well, PennDOT is extremely slow and is in getting back to us. And I know our police chief nags them a lot, a
Who
couple of
is the
times a
chief,
month.
the lead?
Chief John Merciades.
Well, I guess my question is, who's the lead to make that contact to try to obtain the approval from PennDOT?
The chief's been doing it, hasn't
Well,
he?
we
You know,
have,
and
we
also-
have our traffic engineer.
And our traffic engineers
who
also
submitted
been-
applications to PennDOT. I mean, I know they're looking at the guide rail situation now. There's several aspects to PennDOT approvals, but that's, I know that's underway.
And I believe they're coming out to the site visit, but I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about the site visit, but I wouldn't necessarily be informed about it. But-
I know the chief's on vacation for a few days, I do know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and maybe that's the question I have, and is who, I can come here every month and check in, but it sounds like I'm hearing a lot of other folks that may actually be the ones responsible. So who do I contact, or who do I stay in touch with?
Well, it's a matter of the traffic engineer has submitted the information to PennDOT, and we're waiting for the PennDOT to get back to our traffic engineer.
Okay, so you're saying then just come back here and get updates?
Well,
on it?
when we have an update, I'm sure because of the interest that has been shown in from the public, that we'll let everyone know what PennDOT has said. But as Ms. Bramlett indicated, PennDOT grinds a little slowly when they have to review this, as you can probably imagine. This is District 6, which covers most of southeastern Pennsylvania. They get a lot of these type of requests, a lot of requests for traffic signals and stop signs and other issues. So things move a little bit slowly, but once he hears back, and that'll give us a clear indication of what we can do next, we're clearly going to be reporting that to the public.
And and I'm a little bit newer to this, I get Ms. Lukens, she sends updates to our area. How long ago was it submitted, and when we say slowly, is that a 6 month, is that a year, or is that?
Yes
Well,
and
it's
yes.
supposed to be 6 to 8 weeks, but it's been longer than that.
Do we know how much
And
longer?
it's, didn't they start the clock again for some strange reason?
I know one of the studies was back in December. They've submitted for several things, though. Yeah, there's been several different submissions to PennDOT for different things.
Including a
Yeah.
crosswalk up at
But
Light Street.
yes, so that's the furthest along, right, the crosswalk at Light Street. And well, so there's that, there's the guardrail study for the home that was almost hit, the property was hit. Yeah, I know it's been hit in the past, yeah.
It was hit.
It was hit this time too, the
Just a
home.
couple months ago.
Okay.
So are those, but those are separate requests,
They're
I
all
presume, or are
separate
those all?
requests, and then.
Okay, so,
Well,
I guess
there's
so
the
my
gu-
question was about the sidewalk.
There's the guide rail, there's the sidewalk, and there's the crosswalk. So there's a lot going on in that.
Sure, and that's what, I guess what I'm, and I apologize, I don't mean to come off
No, you're
aggressive. What I am trying to do is ask
You're
the
not.
question so I understand sort of whose feet to hold to the fire, right? And who I can pick up the phone and call, whether it's one of my representatives, whether it's somebody at the PD. But I don't really hear the answer, and I don't know what the timeline is that we're even operating on right now.
Well, it's in the hands of our traffic engineer right now.
I understand that, ma'am. So
Who's
my
trying
question
to
is,
get
when
an
was it
answer.
submitted, and who do I reach out and touch to say, hey, what's the answer?
The 5 people here.
Okay, so that was
And we'll report on it when we hear back from PennDOT.
Okay, when was it submitted, sir?
I don't know. I'm not the traffic engineer.
Okay, so you understand sort of,
I
the-
can
you understand the
get
loop
you-
that we're
yeah,
walking in, right?
I can probably get the last date from the chief. I can get that.
Okay,
for you.
all All right, well, and I'll just look forward. I'll talk
Okay,
to
and you
Ms. Lukens in the
mentioned
meantime,
access
but-
to the trail, so do you go to the trail down on Light Street? Because that's, I believe,
Yes.
is where the closest access from Coneytown is.
Yeah, that's the only way you can get to it from my area.
Right, and so you had a question about that access?
No, it's, well, yeah, because there's no sidewalk, right? So if I want to take, my daughter likes to run with me, so if I want to take my 8-year-old to
Oh,
run,
which
we
side
have
of
to-
the Blue Route are you?
I live in Connington next to Miss Smith, so on the,
Yeah, we were
on
separated.
the,
Other side
we're on the west side of the Blue Route.
Oh, so you, okay.
Yeah, so not only do I have to cross the street, then I have to go down and under the bridge.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's just not,
separate the community.
it's not safe. It's not safe for me. It's not safe for my kids. It's not safe for my wife.
Right.
So that's, so hopefully, we've been up to you in the meantime, but certainly, if not, maybe we can have some more information at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
And you can always send an email to any one of us on council.
Sure. All right, thank you.
Our emails are on the website. Any other public comment on any matter, whether it was on the agenda or just anything in general? Yes, Ms. Lukens.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Karen,
make her come to
Weiss.
You're not gonna
Sorry.
let her
Is
talk from
it
her.
possible?
Well, wait a
down on-
minute. Can you just direct your question to
Oh,
me?
sure.
Sure. Thanks, Otis.
So, but you and I had talked about, so a couple of weeks ago, it was mentioned by Patty that it would be really nice in the cul-de-sacs, and I think it would be nice in all the cul-de-sacs, not just in Cunningham, if we had flowers and some kind of landscaping instead of just kind of this green nothing. And down in Cunningham, we went and we checked out the cul-de-sacs, and it looks like there's rock underneath, but there's still a chance to put wildflowers instead of just grass. And so I'm just kind of throwing that out to council and to the township that it might be prettier, and it certainly would be more ecologically friendly to, instead of having grass, which you have to cut and maintain, to kind of have wildflowers growing that could pollinate, and it would look pretty, and you'd only really have to mow it, three times a year? So I'm just throwing that out there as a thought that it might look better than grass.
So you're talking about areas that would be township owned?
Yeah.
Okay, and-
That are larger.
Okay, Karen, do we have?
Right away around the cartway, I guess. The right of way around the cartway is what you're suggesting?
Yeah, like the there's, one, two, there's 3 spots just in Cunningham that would look really pretty, or even along the sides of the road, it would look pretty to just have wildflowers growing instead of grass that has
Yeah.
to be mowed all the time.
Well, I know along the sides of the road, you do have to be careful if you're, for sight lines. I
Oh,
think
right, yeah.
there's a height limit, and a lot of wildflowers get very tall, so that when people who pull out of driveways, because there are a few of those
Yeah.
along Conshohocken Road, they have to be able to see. So you
Yeah.
can't put anything on the roadway itself that is at an intersection that would block the view of traffic pulling up. So what is your proposal for planting wildflowers,
On Conshohocken Road, the area in front of that bar across from Cliffs on Old Elm Street, there's a large grassy area there that you just cut last week. And by the way, thank you for cleaning up the trash along that area. It was noticed and much appreciated. And then there, down on Fulton Street, there is a cul-de-sac area that has shade and grass that it would be pretty to have wildflowers growing down there. And then up on Old Elm Street, on the other side of the bridge, we are trying to grow some sunflowers and stuff like that on that area. But it would be pretty to have wildflowers there as well.
So you're proposing for the township to plant these, or are you proposing
Well,
to have a community
I mean-
event, and y'all would do it in Cunningham?
So that we could do that, Cunningham could do that, I could get some wildflower mix. The thing would be, then at that point, Plymouth Township couldn't mow it down. That's the problem.
Check with
Plymouth, we just can't have Plymouth mowing it down if we're trying to grow wildflowers.
Okay, so, so this is something that we will have to check with our Public Works Director to see what would be feasible from there, because they're the ones who take care of cutting, I think it's Public Works, or is it Parks, or is it
No.
Buildings and Grounds?
No, it's Chris. It's highway.
It's
If-
hi- oh, it's
if
highway,
around a
okay.
cul-de-sac, it's highway. Department cuts some grass, but Rick does parks and township properties. Chris does pump stations, the highway guys, they cut some grass too. And then parks.
Okay, so we can look into that with our
Okay.
Director of Public Works and see what he believes might be feasible and how it might be accomplished.
Okay.
Any other comments? All right, thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.